To get the news your way, go straight to the source.
Whether it's happening in your neighbourhood, across the country or around the world.
Stay in the know with Australia's most trusted news source.
Download the app or head to the website.
Tonight, the Prime Minister flags a raft of changes to travel rules for Australia's parliamentarians. Hello, I'm Jessica Harmsen. This is ABC News South Australia. Also tonight, a police officer injured in the Bondi terror attack released from hospital as local businesses issue a plea to the community. Road closed after a horror crash south of Adelaide. Skipper Pat Cummins and spin bowler Nathan Lyon out for the rest of the Ashes series. And is South Australia the most festive state in Australia? We take a look at our Christmas traditions. Good evening. Family members of federal politicians will no longer be able to fly business class under sweeping changes proposed after expenses scandals. The Prime Minister has referred advice from the independent watchdog to the Remuneration Tribunal, which will finalise the rule changes in the new year. Here's political reporter Romy Stevens.
Politicians' spending of taxpayer money under scrutiny. The Prime Minister now signalling a shift.
We have recommended a number of changes.
Those changes relate to rules governing family reunion travel entitlements, which came under fire after Sports Minister Annika Wells charged taxpayers for her family to travel to sporting events and a Thredbo ski resort while she worked.
I'm confident that I have upheld the guidelines at all times.
The controversy led to Attorney General Michelle Rowland repaying some expenses, and the Prime Minister sought advice from the independent watchdog. That will now be considered by the Remuneration Tribunal.
I do not have the power at a stroke of a pen to change entitlements. The Rem Tribunal have the power.
Under the recommended changes, family members would be restricted to economy class flights and taxpayer-funded travel outside of Canberra would be mostly banned. But partners of senior politicians would be able to travel to events directly linked to portfolios. The government's also asking for careful consideration to be given to new mothers and fathers.
We will work with the government once we see the details of these changes. The opposition is disappointed that the Prime Minister once again has talked about bipartisanship, but 2 days before Christmas is bringing out the dirty washing.
The government had been poised to announce the recommendations over a week ago, but that plan was derailed by the shocking Bondi terror attack. The changes today, an acknowledgement the old rules are no longer fit for purpose. Romy Stevens, ABC News, Canberra.
Bondi businesses are urging Sydney-siders to return to the beachside suburb more than a week after the terror attack. Security at major events is also in the spotlight as Sydney's famous New Year's Eve fireworks fast approaches.
As shots rang out on December 14, workers at this Bondi cafe stepped up, shielding victims as they fled for their lives.
Our first kind of instinct was to pull people into the restaurant, close the doors, get in the kitchen and just make sure everyone's safe as possible.
More than a week on, there are signs life is slowly returning to normal.
This place was giving out free coffees the morning after it happened and they were here supporting the community. So, yeah, it's nice to be down here and supporting back.
It's about supporting them, but it's also about us also, getting back into the rhythms of life.
The state and federal governments have jointly funded $25,000 grants to help affected businesses stay afloat. But with Christmas right around the corner, they're pleading with locals to keep showing up.
Have a coffee, have a food, get a haircut, go to the pub and get a pint. Our businesses will greatly appreciate it.
New Year's Eve fireworks have been cancelled in Bondi, but the state government says Sydney-siders should expect an increased police presence both here and around the harbour.
The police will work closely with the community. They already have a great relationship with the local councils there, and they will absolutely be working hand in glove with them and making sure that they have the resources they need.
In Sydney's north, grandmother Marika Pogany was farewelled. The shooting victim was known for her kindness and laughter. And after a week in a medically induced coma, Constable Scott Dyson has woken up. Probationary Constable Jack Hibbert has also been discharged from hospital. The 22-year-old's family says having him home for Christmas feels like a miracle.
Despite the tragedies of the last few days, this is heaven on earth, and nothing's going to stop us from enjoying our community and our locals.
Defiance in the face of unbearable loss. Victoria Pingilly, ABC News, Sydney.
Laws being rushed through the New South Wales Parliament which restrict protests and gun ownership are set to be challenged in court. During a late-night sitting, the bill passed the New South Wales Lower House 59 votes to 15. The laws impose a limit of 4 firearms per owner and licence renewals every 2 years. Rules would also allow police to restrict protests from happening for up to 3 months if there's been a terror incident. But opponents say they'll mount a Supreme Court challenge if the law comes into force, claiming it would restrict freedoms and the right to protest.
We are witnessing is the Minns government seeking to introduce laws that will represent the single most aggressive assault on our civil liberties in living memory.
We're confident these laws will withstand a constitutional challenge.
And a prayer hall associated with notorious Islamic preacher Wissam Haddad in Western Sydney will be shut down. The City of Canterbury Bankstown Council says the centre had only received approval to operate as a medical centre and has issued a directive for it to be closed. One of the alleged Bondi gunmen, 24-year-old Naveed Akram, was allegedly a follower of his preachings as a teenager. There's no suggestion of wrongdoing by Haddad in relation to the attack, and he's said it's misleading to describe Akram as a follower. South Australia Police are at the scene of a serious crash at O'Halloran Hill in Adelaide's southern suburbs. Emergency services were called to the intersection of Main South Road and Sun Valley Road just after 5 o'clock. Major crash investigators are attending and traffic is delayed in both directions. Police are asking motorists to avoid the area where possible. An Aldinga man who allegedly confessed to a murder at a holiday park south of Adelaide has faced court. The body of 72-year-old Gary Hallam was found early yesterday afternoon in a cabin at Port Wollonga Caravan Park. Police say at the same time, 49-year-old Paul Coles turned himself into police, where they allege he confessed to the murder. The man appeared in the Christie's Beach Magistrates Court but didn't apply for bail. He's been remanded into a mental health facility until his next court appearance in August. An Adelaide woman who allegedly attempted to murder her ex-partner has made a bid for home detention bail in South Australia's Supreme Court. The court heard shocking new allegations, including that the woman searched for hitmen and poison.
45-year-old Lisa Lines was extradited to Adelaide from Palau in 2023 after allegedly fleeing the country following the attempted murder of her ex-partner Jonathan Horton in 2017. Dr Lines is charged alongside Zachariah Bruckner with prosecutors alleging Mr Horton was hit several times in the neck with an axe, rendering him tetraplegic. Another woman is charged with attempting to smother Mr Horton at the rehabilitation centre where he was recovering. All have previously pleaded not guilty. In court today, Dr Lines' defence argued she should be released on home detention bail due to the hardship her custody was having on her children and that her complicated health needs were not being met in prison. Prosecutors were opposed to all forms of bail, saying the accused posed a significant flight risk and a risk to the community given the serious nature of the alleged offences. Prosecutors also alleged Dr Lines had meticulously planned her departure to non-Interpol countries and spent $230,000 to purchase Vanuatuan citizenship. They allege she had a fixation on killing Mr Horton and his mother, with search history relating to dark web assassins, hitmen and poisons. They also allege she spoke with undercover police acting as hitmen and proposed methods of killing the Hortons that would put the community at risk, including bombing, creating a car accident or gassing them. The matter will return to court in January. Olivia Mason, ABC News.
With just 2 sleeps until Christmas, South Australians are gearing up to celebrate. And despite the persistent algal bloom, plenty of people were flocking to local fish shops to make sure there'll be prawns on the table.
a last-minute lineup for Christmas lunch goodies.
That's what Christmas is about. Ham, fish, chocolates, pudding, everything.
With 2 sleeps to go, Michael Violenti's fish shop is buzzing with customers keen for fresh seafood. Something he's especially grateful for after a tough year with the ongoing algal bloom.
Customers are feeling much more confident about South Australian seafood, which is really good. So we've got a lot of oysters to shuck for orders today.
At Rundle Mall, there's plenty of people doing a last-minute dash for presents.
The last 5 days before Christmas, there's been nearly 1 million people coming in to the mall.
Luckily for some shoppers, it hasn't been a mad rush.
All organised a while back, so now just doing the collections while they're still at home sleeping.
Came early because we thought it's hard to find a parking here, but it was almost empty when we came here.
Police are sending a timely reminder for people to celebrate safely and warning they'll be out in force on the state's roads.
The last person you want to see on your doorstep this Christmas is a police officer.
While Rundle Mall here is busy enough in the lead up to Christmas, it'll be the day after when things really ramp up. For those who can handle the crowds, more than 200,000 shoppers are expected to spend more than $8 million here on Boxing Day. Sophie Holder, ABC News.
Beekeepers in South Australia are on high alert as the bee killer varroa mite continues to spread across the state. They're being asked to radically increase hive monitoring in the latest effort to suppress the deadly parasite.
Hypervigilance has become the new normal for beekeeper Bob Beer.
We've been saying it's a matter of when it happens, and it has happened, and we've got to live with it.
First detected in SA at Pudgenook in September, varroa mite has since appeared on the Limestone Coast, the Adelaide Hills and multiple locations around the Fleurieu Peninsula.
Left untreated, it will basically cause that colony to collapse and die out, but it is manageable.
Authorities want hives within 25 kilometres of detection sites to be checked every few weeks.
We don't want surprises. We don't want beekeepers to find hundreds and hundreds of mites. We want beekeepers to be monitoring when they don't have mites.
The mites are smaller than a sesame seed, so monitoring involves more than just checking hives. The bees are shaken in a jar with alcohol or detergent.
And be quite violent.
And if there are mites, they'll wash off the bees.
Looks clear so far.
And while it's hives like these that can be monitored and managed, it's the wild bee populations through which varroa mite is expected to spread and take hold.
We expect to lose 95%, if not more, of the feral bee population, and then management of the varroa is going to become a lot more predictable.
A loss of wild feral bees will force producers to pay for hives to pollinate their crops.
Every third spoonful of food that goes in your mouth is a pollinated food.
With the loss of those feral hives, there is going to be a greater demand for managed beehives.
A silver lining for some in stormy skies ahead. Emma Masters, ABC News.
After going insolvent and leaving staff without entitlements, a digital marketing agency run by a former AFL star has reopened under a new ABN. The business owner compared the insolvency to a holiday, but taxpayers have been shortchanged and former staff members say they're out of pocket.
Zib Digital Marketing Agency moved from here to here. It collapsed, leaving staff without work and entitlements, as well as a multi-million-dollar tax debt.
Days later, they reopened here with a new Australian business number, a smaller workforce and no debt.
The founder, former Adelaide and Richmond player Chris Knights, remains the head of the new entity. At a company meeting, he said,
"Change is as good as a holiday, and the new facility is going to be built for purpose."
They were creating a new company, and you were given a short period of time to essentially sign up to or not sign up to the new company.
Yes, that's right. The only thing that's changing is the name of the holding company. There's no other changes for all intents and purposes to the rest of the company operations.
Staff who lost their job were able to apply for lost income through the Fair Entitlements Guarantee Scheme, but it doesn't cover superannuation or anyone on a visa. Chris Knights told the ABC it has been an extremely challenging economic period, which has forced many major media and digital organisations to make difficult redundancies.
Zib's actions are within the law, but have raised questions about what some call legal phoenix legislation, which essentially allows insolvent companies to start again.
If we have a situation where a company can wind up one day, wipe its debts, have the taxpayer foot the bill for some of their employee entitlements, and open up the next day doing the same thing under a different legal name, you'd really need to question whether the law is fit for purpose there.
The same question is being raised by Zib Digital's former staff. Daniel Ziffer, ABC News.
Overseas now, Palestinian officials warn a plan for 19 new Jewish settlements in the occupied West Bank accelerates Israel's annexation drive. The US president has previously rejected efforts by Israel to formally annex the territory, but Palestinians and human rights advocates say for many it's already a reality.
These imposing stone walls shield one of the holiest sites in the Middle East, the Tomb of the Patriarchs in the Palestinian city of Hebron.
It's something that should be bringing people together. But oftentimes, places like this actually make people jealous and tear them apart.
Believed to be the burial site of Abraham and revered by Jews, Muslims and Christians alike, the building has been a flashpoint for violence and is currently half mosque, half synagogue. But settlers claim it stands on Jewish land.
We're connected to this thing inextricably. We're not going to be connected this way to Brooklyn or to Sydney or Melbourne. It's not the same.
Across the West Bank and East Jerusalem, there are 700,000 Israelis living in settlements and outposts considered illegal under international law. Backed by far-right ministers in government, settlers want the Israeli parliament to formally annex the territory, despite opposition from its longtime ally.
I will not allow Israel to annex the West Bank. No, I will not allow it.
I'm fenced, caged in my house.
The Palestinians here say annexation is a de facto reality. Issa Amro's home in Hebron is effectively a fortress, frequently attacked by settlers.
So I feel that I live in a cage without protection and without food and without announcing me as a prisoner. In my house first, caged, my neighborhood is caged, my city is caged and my country is caged.
Even without Israel totally annexing the West Bank, this is an example of how it exercises control in the area. Gates on the edges of Palestinian cities and towns opened and closed at the whim of Israeli authorities, sometimes isolating the population for days, if not weeks on end.
It has nothing to do with the question of political annexation. That remains a subject of discussion.
Human rights advocates argue the push for full sovereignty has emboldened settlers to commit more brazen attacks.
We're perpetuating our domination in the West Bank, and in the last 2 years we've done that in a way that for me this is annexation, even if hasn't been declared.
They dream to ethnic cleanse us from our own land.
Good people that want to live amongst us, they'll be able to. Haters will have to go.
A simple declaration with major ramifications. Matthew Doran, ABC News, Hebron.
Chris Rea, best known for his festive hit Driving Home for Christmas, has died at the age of 74. The English singer-songwriter released 25 studio albums and sold more than 40 million records worldwide in a career spanning 5 decades. Driving Home for Christmas became a seasonal staple after its release in 1986. Rea's family says he died peacefully in hospital after a short illness. Australians are finishing the year much like they started it, with rising house prices and inflation pressures on the household budget. But as Alan Kohler explains, 2025 was a year of great change.
It's Christmas on Thursday, so let's review the year in economics. In Australia, the economy is doing fine, thanks to 3 rate cuts that also sent the average house price above $1 million for the first time and took a housing affordability to a record level of bad, with the average price 8.2 times average household income. Strong population growth also helped in pushing house prices higher and helped produce economic growth of 2%. But if you divide that by the number of people, per capita GDP growth in the September quarter was 0. Total economic growth used to average 3% with less population growth, but it's less than that now because of weaker productivity. Over the past 2 years, GDP per hours worked has fallen 1.5%. But look, you've heard all this before. 2025 was more of the same old stuff. Housing affordability worse, productivity no better, economic growth okay, but stuck. Something needs to happen. And you know what? Something did happen. Not here in America and China, but we're in it too. 2025 will go down as the year that adoption of artificial intelligence took off and the world began to change. It's also when the 8 big US AI companies started spending and being worth serious money. As a result, a lot of people are now saying it's a bubble about to crash. But while it does look pretty bubbly, it's still a fair way off matching the internet bubble of the 1990s. But perhaps most important of all in the long term, this is also the year when China passed America in AI. And not just in AI really, but in technology and engineering more generally. And then, in September, this book was published about the prospect and the dangers of super intelligent AI, which is definitely not what you want, because with everything going on, plus Donald Trump upending the global trading system along with American politics, you wouldn't be dead for quids. I just can't wait for 2026.
Now with the day's financial news, here's Daniel Ziffer.
Renowned party pooper, the Reserve Bank, dropped its Christmas single today. Minutes of the most recent Monetary Policy Board meeting, saying members were concerned about an upward trend in inflation which could be persistent, and that the economy could have excess demand because financial conditions weren't restrictive enough. Now, decoded, if prices keep rising faster than the 2 to 3% target band that the RBA wants inflation held to, interest rates will need to go higher to try and take that heat out of the economy. Given that the RBA has hiked and cut interest rates 13 times each in the past decade, and it's only kept inflation in the band where it wants it just 20% of the time, it might be that just using that tool to control inflation isn't enough. Gold isn't on holiday yet, rewriting the record books again. US indices remained on a winning streak as the year winds down, and there was muddled trading in our Aussie dollar. Shares in our biggest bank leapt today after it had a charitable transformation, returning $68 million in fees it had charged 2.2 million low-income and vulnerable customers who should have been in low or no fee accounts. It takes the amount the Commonwealth Bank has returned to $93 million. Very welcome, but still substantially short of the $270 million the regulator found they had profited from the practice. Ebenezer Scrooge changed his ways on Christmas Eve, meaning there's still time. And that's finance.
On to sports, and Australia's set for a new look Ashes bowling attack with skipper Pat Cummins ruled out for the rest of the series. He joins injured spinner Nathan Lyon on the sidelines, putting some familiar faces in the frame for a Boxing Day berth.
He's taken 6 wickets and won the Ashes. Now his job is done.
He's pulled up fine. He won't play any part in the rest of the series. To position him for further risk and jeopardise him long term is not something that we want to do.
The skipper isn't the only one. Nathan Lyon's season is over. He had surgery on his torn hamstring this morning.
He's pretty shattered. He's facing a long recovery.
In the frame to front a new-look bowling attack on Boxing Day, a Western Australian speedster, Jai Richardson, and Victorian spinner, Todd Murphy, who's a chance to play on his home deck.
Spoke to Toddy this morning, really excited for him to be back around the group. And, yeah, we've got some decisions to make. I just had a look at the wicket then and, you know, do we play a spinner, don't we play a spinner?
I think the biggest challenge for us is we don't get deterioration. It's not a big spinning wicket here.
Steve Smith is also back in the nets and set to return after missing the last test because of dizziness, with McDonald hinting Usman Khawaja will retain his spot after he scored 122 runs in Adelaide.
He's still a good player.
Which suggests Cameron Green or Josh Inglis could get dropped. Those conversations are to come. For now, McDonald is still revelling and reeling from his newfound T-shirt fame.
He's pretty cheeky. He's a cheeky individual and no one's safe in our change room.
The same could be said for the England change room. There are increasing calls to sack coach Brendan McCullum and damaging reports that team members drank excessively during their recent break in Noosa. David Mark, ABC News.
The 36ers will try to shut down one of their former players to win tomorrow afternoon's clash with Cairns. Jack McVeigh hit 47 points against New Zealand last week and is critical to the Taipans' on-court fortunes. Victory would shore up the 36ers' hold on top spot in the middle of a busy festival schedule. Recently re-signed import Zylan Cheatham says Adelaide needs to quickly fix its second half fade-outs.
I think our execution offensively and defensively kind of starts to lack in that third quarter. We kind of get stagnant. There's too many possessions where we don't know where we're in, and guys are just trying to improvise, and we end up getting a bad shot. And
London has gotten a new Banksy mural for Christmas this year. The artwork above a row of garages in West London shows two children lying down and looking at the sky. The notoriously secretive artist is known for drawing on social commentary through his murals. A second identical artwork was found in the city centre. From Adelaide's Christmas pageant to the many seasonal lights across the state, South Australians cherish their Christmas traditions. So it begs the question, is the festival state the most festive in the country?
'Twas the night before Christmas when all through the city, trees adorned with baubles and tinsel look pretty. In the streets of suburbia, houses are bright, thousands of twinkles illuminating the night. And in the lead up to Christmas Eve, the pageant brought glee through the city it weaved. On the river, of course, were the lights of the West End. The State Library in its glory hopped on the trend. It made us ponder an interesting query. Is South Australia the most festive and cheery?
Well, of course we are. I would say it's stating the obvious.
The Christmas pageant, established in 1933, is Australia's biggest.
The pageant alone gives us a flying chance of being right up there in terms of the way cities celebrate Christmas.
Then there's the Lobethal lights, glowing since the 1950s. The Magic Cave opened in 1896, and when the store closed, it found a new home. There's also a public display at the former West End Brewery.
1959, it was started as a nice community gesture by a brewing company.
I remember it being absolutely packed, so you couldn't even walk.
It's truly amazing that they've continued on the tradition.
But it's probably Santa who's most qualified in what brings festive cheer. Do you think we're the most Christmassy place in Australia?
Of course, Adelaide is the best place in Australia to celebrate Christmas.
Well, straight from Father Christmas himself, Olivia Mason, ABC News.
Merry Christmas to you.
Let's take a look at South Australia's weather now, and thanks to Randall Walker for tonight's photo of a koala in the night. It was mainly fine in Adelaide today. We reached a top of 25.9 degrees about 2 this afternoon after an overnight low of 15.1. Further afield, conditions were mostly settled across the state with no significant rain. Oodnadatta recorded the highest temperature of 35.7 degrees. To the charts, and there's been rain and thunderstorms over northern WA, the NT, Queensland and northeast New South Wales, gusty showers in Tassie and southern Victoria. Tomorrow, expect rain and thunderstorms to continue across the tropics with showers and storms spreading to eastern Queensland. It'll be dry and hot for southern WA. So looking across the country tomorrow, a scorcher in Perth with 39 degrees, 32 in Darwin, 30 degrees for Sydney and a mild 16 in Hobart. Back home, possible morning fog patches about central districts and 34 degrees for several centres, including Lee Creek, a milder 25 for Whyalla. Further south, isolated light showers about the southern and western coasts and southeastern districts, mainly in the morning, a top of 24 degrees in Clare. Briefly to the warnings, there's a strong wind warning tomorrow for Spencer Gulf, and in Adelaide, partly cloudy tomorrow, 25 degrees after an overnight low of 12. Turning to the waters now, and south to southwesterly winds to 20 knots, tending south to southeasterly with seas rising to 1.5 metres. Sunrise just before 6 o'clock with sunset about 8:30. And looking ahead to that 7-day forecast, cloud clearing for Christmas Day with a top of 25 degrees, a sunny 29 for Boxing Day, then heating up to a warm 37 degrees on Monday and 29 degrees forecast for this time next week. And that is the latest from the Adelaide newsroom, and that's all from me for this year. I'm Jessica Harmsen. Thanks for your company this evening. We'll leave you with Curious Chimps celebrating Christmas.